What's up, everyone? So recently I spent 10 days in Cuba. I had a great time there. However, I did face a lot of scams. Cuba was by far the country that I've faced the most scams so far. So I thought I'd make a video of some of the scams that I faced, just to help whoever is going to be visiting there so that you can possibly avoid them. So number one is right at the airport. So when we arrived, there's literally like taxi signs everywhere showing the price of the different cities that you can visit and how much the taxi should be. So to Havana, it showed that it should be 24 kuk, which is $24. So a few taxi drivers approached us, but we kind of just walked past, ignored them, and then we finally spoke to one. But he was trying to charge us $45, so $21 more expensive than it should be. And then we were showing him the sign, and he was saying that where we wanted to go was even further. But I showed him that our hotel was only 18 kilometers away, and the sign showed that within 30 kilometers it should be $24. And he started saying that the site I was showing him was a lie and that it's further. We basically ignored him. He tried reducing the price when he saw that we weren't agreeing to it, but we just got away from him. And then we found another taxi driver that said the correct price. So that's just one thing to remember. When you're arriving, you will already face some taxi drivers that will try and scam you. Number two is the old car scam. So when you're in Havana, it's quite popular for tourists to want to ride around in the cool 1950s cars. That's one of the main things to do there, and it is a great experience. So usually it's about $50, I think, for an hour. But we didn't want to do it for an hour, so we arranged with a guy that we'd do it $25 for half an hour, and he agreed to it. So yeah, we did the tour, everything was nice. We saw all the nice buildings. He took us to some of the main places to see. But then when we got back, I gave him $35, which I thought was very generous, a $10 tip, and I was expecting him to be happy. But then he was complaining, saying that it should have been $45 because they took us around for 50 minutes. But we told him we didn't ask you to take us around for 50 minutes. We asked for 30 minutes. So yeah, there's a bit of situation there, and I'm not even sure it was 50 minutes. I don't think it was. So if you get in those cars, make sure to keep track on the time. And also, yeah, keep in mind that they might try and take you around longer to charge you more, even though you don't ask for it. In the end, I just paid for $35, which was still with a tip. So yeah, I still paid more. Number three is just transport in general. Many times they overprice you, some crazy prices. There was this one time where we was on the boardwalk in Havana and we could see the castle on the other side of the ocean. Very small distance, which you have to get a tunnel and you can't walk. So we approached a taxi driver and he was trying to charge us $15 for like a 2-3 minute drive, which was crazy because from the airport it's $24 and that's like 30 minutes away. And he was saying, no, the gasoline, things like that. It just didn't make sense at all. And then we left him. Just getting any form of transport, they always shot the price way too high. Because what happens is in Cuba, half of the time you don't have internet. So it's very hard for you to actually confirm the distance that it will take to get to some places. And yeah, they take advantage of that. So that's a tricky one to get by, but pretty much every transport that we encountered, they always charge way higher than it should be. So yeah, definitely always try and haggle it. And like I said, we always were able to use the airport as a reference since it was $24 for like 30 minutes. So we kind of use that in our advantage as well. Number four is just generally asking help in the street. So as I mentioned just before, you don't have internet. So a lot of the time you're pretty clueless in Cuba. You don't really know how things work or where things are. So many times we would ask like, oh, where is this location? Just to a random person in the street, but then what they'll try and do, they'll try and find like some sort of transport or something to take you, and then they'll also charge super high, because what happens in Cuba is when somebody helps somebody else get money, they usually get a share of it. So they'll try and like bump the price up so that, yeah, their share is higher, you know what I mean? So that happened a lot. I remember we asked one guy one time, he'd take us to a restaurant where it would be like around $7-8 for a dish. And he was like, sure, I know one, it's kind of far away. And he was on one of those like taxi bike things. So he said we couldn't walk there. So we got on the taxi bike. We only paid like $2 or $3, but all he did was literally just turn a corner to this restaurant, and it was a super expensive restaurant. So one, we could have just walked there, and two, he didn't even take us to where we wanted anyway. So yeah, that kind of thing happened all the time, and it was kind of annoying because, like I said, since you don't know how things work because you have no internet, I also felt like I couldn't trust anyone asking them for help, so that was a difficult one. Alright, number 5, which was the last and easily the worst one that happened to us. So one of the popular forms of transport in Cuba is called taxi colectivo, which is just a shared taxi. It's how you get between the cities because the buses aren't that frequent, and most of the time they're already fully booked. In your guest house or hotel, you can book these shared taxis, but what happens is they also bump the price up so they can get a share of it. So the first time we did that, and then we realized it was way overpriced when we searched online. So then we just started dealing with people in the street. There's many of these taxi guys in the street, or even at the bus stations, they wait in front. So on our final day when we wanted to go to the airport, we was going from Baradero to Havana. So we found this guy, we agreed the price and everything, but this is the part where we screwed up. The guy asked for a $5 deposit. So we told him, we was like, no, we've never done that before. And he said, look, you can take a photo of me, here's my ID. And we were also in front of a restaurant and he knew the owners and stuff. So at that time, we kind of ended up trusting him. We was like, okay, we got this guy's photo, his ID, and we also know the restaurant that he's like friends with. So we agreed to it. So the next day when we was waiting for him to arrive, he was just nowhere to be seen. At first we thought he might have just been late, so we were still waiting around. And then after half an hour, still nowhere to be seen. And he'd also give us a phone number. So we got the lady out at our guest house to call him, and the number doesn't even exist, so he gave us a fake number. So then my wife, she went to the restaurant because she speaks a bit more Spanish than me, and I waited at the guest house to see if he'd turn up. So when she got to the restaurant, she showed the photo to the owner, and straight away the owner was all like, no, he's just a client, nothing to do with me, without even telling the owner that there was a problem. So this had already happened before, for sure, in Baradero. So yeah, he was just saying he doesn't know the guy, that he's a client, something like that. They all know each other though, it's small communities. And then this is the worst part. Carol found some policemen on the way home. So she showed them the guy with his ID, and they were like, okay, if we find him, we'll take him to your guest house. But then they started flicking through her personal photos on the beach and like laughing and smiling at each other. So at that point, it was just completely ridiculous when even the police are doing stuff like that when you're asking them for help. That was like pretty outrageous. So we ended up leaving like an hour and 15 minutes later, and we were like super nervous. It was a horrible experience because we didn't know if we was going to miss our flight, and we almost missed it because the airport there is very slow, all the queues. So our flight got delayed like 40 minutes. If it wasn't delayed, we might have actually missed our flight. So yeah, that guy was just an asshole because he knew that we was going to the airport, and he consciously made the decision that he was willing to let us also lose our flight. So he stole $5 from us, which was the deposit. And yeah, like I said, he was willing to make us lose our flight, and it just created a big negative end to our Cuba trip. Unfortunately, it was just a really sad ending. Never been through anything like that before. So yeah, I would probably still always book through the guest houses because at least they know the drivers personally and they can be held accountable for it if someone steals from you or if they don't turn up. So even though you're going to pay more every time, it's better to do that than go through what we did. That was the 5 that we went through. It was pretty much all transport based, as you can see. I might as well mention some others that I saw online. So apparently a popular one is fake Cuban cigars. One of the popular things in Cuba is the Cuban cigar, so apparently there's loads of fake ones being sold for expensive prices. And the second one that I read, this never happened to us, is that places saying that they don't have change. So you buy something and they're like, oh, sorry, don't have change, and then you end up just having to give them all the money that you gave because they can't get change. But any place you buy something, they need to work out how to get change from somewhere. So that was 2 other common ones that didn't happen to me, but yeah, apparently have happened to other people. So obviously, since this video is about scams, it sounds all negative, but Cuba does have a lot of beautiful stuff and a lot of great experiences there. So I do have other videos that show like a daily video of each place: Trinidad, Habana, Cienfuegos, and Baradero. So you can watch the videos there and you'll see that there's still loads of great stuff there for your vacation. But yeah, like I said, I just wanted to make this video to try and help you avoid these kind of situations, and yeah, just expect these kind of things to come up. So if you like the video, just drop a like, hopefully it helped you. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this, and I'll see you in the next one.